Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, and I can't remember our tagline because I never do this part because I always have a bit, but I forgot this time. My name is Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Welcome to this field trip through nerd and pop culture. I'm
There
James
you
McCarthy.
go.
One of us said the line.
Had to save that one, or else we would be kicked out of
Of
something.
our own club.
Of the podcast?
Yeah,
What?
we'd all be kicked. Like the
Under new
podcast
management.
starting after this, if we weren't here, would just be an hour and a half of dead silence.
Oh, okay.
Ah, damn.
Well, that'd be easier to edit.
There you go.
But at least it didn't happen.
How avant-garde.
Yeah.
Jody, what you been doing?
So over the weekend, I watched an anime that came out like in 2013 that was
That's practically ancient.
not very
in
ancient.
anime times.
That wasn't well received from two different angles. One, the art style, because I think it's one of the only animes that I've ever seen that was in rotoscoping
Okay.
in 2013.
Okay,
which is
yeah.
odd. And secondly, most of the characters are not good people.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's sort of like framed as a slice of life, like junior high school
Yeah.
situation. And I didn't find out exactly what it was based on, even though it's referenced throughout the anime, until after I watched it because I didn't want to be spoiled of anything.
Yeah.
And so our main protagonist is like I wouldn't say he's an incel. He's just very introverted.
Are you holding out on the name of this?
Yes.
Okay.
He is.
Okay.
And because it ties into the source material.
Okay.
And so he has like 3 or 4 like good friends, and you can tell that they're more outgoing than he is, and he's kind of like got a crush on this one girl, and he spends a lot of time reading because he thinks he's better than everybody else.
Okay.
In the town.
Yeah, that's typical anime protagonist.
And so he reads mostly out of this one book. So one day he has to go back to class after class is over because he forgot his book of poetry, and he reads this thing constantly.
Yeah.
And he goes back, and as he's like going to his desk, he hears a noise from the side, and he looks over, and it's a gym bag. Not gym clothes. Gym clothes are in the gym bag. It's like, and they're little. It's Japanese, so the gym bag's like really tiny or whatever. And he notices that it's his crush's gym bag.
Okay.
So he picks it up, and because he's like really obsessed with this girl.
Uh-huh.
I don't like where this is going.
You're not gonna really like where it's going.
Yeah.
But he's not creepy. It's just really weird, right? So
Okay.
That is towing up on the line of creepy. Depending on
like-
what happens next, it might walk straight over that
Yeah.
line.
he smells the bag.
Okay, there you go. There
there's
you go.
creepy.
That's what we were waiting
Yeah.
for.
But he doesn't open it up and smell like certain things. He just
Okay.
smells the whole bag.
Yeah, that's still
Yeah.
Still creep
Yeah.
territory.
because it is. And he goes, it smells like her perfume. So, right.
Okay.
Now, as he's about to put it back where he found it,
okay.
he hears a noise, and he shoves the bag under his shirt because he doesn't want to be caught with it.
Yeah.
And runs out.
Okay.
The problem with that, though, is there's a girl in the classroom that nobody talks to because she's a real weirdo,
Okay.
and she's very, very introverted, doesn't speak to anybody.
Okay.
And as he's leaving class the day after, she approaches him, and he's freaked out by it because she doesn't talk to anybody, and she starts initiating conversation, and she goes, "I saw you with her clothes,"
Okay.
and so she makes a contract up with him,
Okay.
basically blackmailing him, but not in the way that you would think, because she says that she's a degenerate, and she wants to bring the degeneracy out of him as well,
Okay.
because she's an outcast, and she sees another person that is doing like things that she would normally see as fun, exciting, and different than everybody else in the town.
Okay.
It's the characters are shitty. Like even you find out later that the crush is a shitty person.
Okay.
Like it's based off of a French book of poetry from the mid 1800s.
Okay.
Called The Flowers of Evil.
Okay.
And it's dealing with themes of decadence and suffering and its relationship to original sin. And so, your average, story of growing up and puberty and things of that nature.
Fucking Japanese. Jesus Christ.
They're obsessed with some weird shit. So it didn't, depending on what time period.
This art style is shit.
It's rotoscoping. It's not supposed to look good.
Let me see a picture.
Okay, here you go.
God, that looks terrible.
It does. It does. But another thing is the art style reflects how ugly everybody is inside.
Okay.
It's one of those things.
Is this rotoscopy or colonoscopy? Like, this is just bad.
I mean, that's one way to excuse your shitty art style.
So it didn't do well. And
shock of shocks.
The crazy thing is, they assumed that people wanted to watch another season of this, so they ended it halfway through the story.
Oh God.
Man,
there is.
I think I've actually. I think I've seen that.
Yeah,
like a clip of that.
Right.
So but I don't remember where.
There's a well, the thing also is that source material didn't catch up to because they were still doing the manga after the anime came out. There is a live
when did this come out?
2013.
Okay, in 2006 the Flash artist Stamper was doing better shit in Flash.
Anyway, they made a live action movie based off of the manga, which has the complete story.
Oh, okay.
Which I haven't watched.
What made you want to watch this?
Because I didn't know what it was when I first started watching it. Because I was intrigued by the art style because it's rotoscoping and it's anime.
Yeah.
And the thing about the gym clothes that happens like episode 2.
Yeah.
And it gets it ends like Game of Thrones where like every ending is like what the fuck.
Yeah.
So I got to find out what happens next.
Okay.
It gets to a point where because she's got him blackmailed, she gets him to he eventually goes on a date with his crush. But the catch is the other girl knows about it. She's not jealous, by the way. She doesn't want a relationship with this guy. She's just really fucked up. So she makes him wear the other girl's gym clothes on the date.
What?
What?
Yeah. It's really fucked up.
Jesus Christ. I don't know. Man, I mean,
I'm very tired. I don't know. I'm just very tired right now.
Man,
did this happen?
All of this is making me not like anime at all.
I said, it didn't do well. So,
to no one's surprise.
Exactly. So that's what I did.
Jesus Christ.
I want to say a year before that, 2012 was Attack on Titan when it came out.
I can't remember.
Probably. And better looking animes came out in the 50s.
Yeah.
But that's not,
Yeah, Astro Boy would look better.
Oh, way better.
Yeah.
Cleaner lines and all that.
Not would look better, does look better.
This will also not surprise you that the original book of poetry was censored in France until 1914.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep, all of it's coming together now.
The French authors will write some freaky shit. Ethan, there's nowhere to go but up.
Are you sure?
Okay, I'm pretty positive I can think of something better than the Flowers of Evil.
Yeah.
Okay. Been playing some more of Another Crab's Treasure, which I think I'm getting close to the end of the game. It gets to the point where you get to the main city where you have shops. Shops to upgrade your weapon. You're able to purchase stowaways that attach to your shell.
Okay,
and it's like barnacles, mollusks, anemones, and things and such. And it comes to the point where they start to celebrate Trash Day,
Okay.
where the city gathers in the street and they wait for oncoming plastic and paper to descend
Jesus.
the city.
That is
because that's their form of currency. Is
That's
microplastics.
sad. Yeah.
And from the sky, a box of off-brand Captain Crunch descends, and on the back is a torn piece of a treasure map. And they're trying to like, this map must lead to the greatest treasure of all. And it's so weird. It's so funny, but it's so weird. There's a mollusk that's like the owner of the mass-producing trash.
Escargot.
Yeah.
He has a squid as a right-hand man that also wields a gun, and a
Everything about this is 100%. Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be like a right hand man?
Perhaps. And so you're going on a quest to find the missing pieces
Thank you for
of
that
the
rim
map.
shot, Jody.
No.
You mimed it. You didn't say it, but there we go. There we go.
During which time I found a shell that is the imposter from Among Us.
Oh, okay.
That is, for some reason, the best shell there is.
It's just
It's just a fun game. I'm still having fun with it. And me and Bianca, we finally opened up the D&D Lego sets.
okay. Yeah.
Which contains 4 instruction books.
Yeah.
32 bags of Legos.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
over 3,000 pieces.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It is going to take a long time.
Yeah. There were some Lego sets coming out that I'm interested in. They've got the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile.
They have like a panorama picture of the
Batman,
Gotham.
the Gotham skyline.
Yes.
That one looks cool.
It looks really cool.
That one's way out of my price range.
Some of these sets are ridiculous.
They have the Daily Bugle.
The Batmobile is only like 60, and then they have the X-Men 97 Blackbird for it's like 80, and it's like, okay, I can do those, but
I think like Starry Night was like $150.
Yeah.
The Avengers Tower is roughly $400.
yeah,
And the Daily Bugle is $350.
yeah.
Holy
Lego.
They still look amazing.
Oh yeah,
Well,
they're awesome, and there are several sets that I would like to get, but yeah, y'all gonna play the adventure when y'all get done, or
Perhaps. The goal is to build things first, and then we'll explore with everything.
That's like 10 Gundams.
10, possibly more than 10 Gundams.
No,
Or 3 Gundams.
I think
depending on the
size of
Gundam.
I think you
Depending
need
on
to
the
look at some of
Gundam.
the heavier ones.
I was about to say, depending on the size of the gun,
Yeah.
it all
Or-
depends.
If they ever release a new Big Zom, I want to build a Big Zom because it's the most ridiculous of all the Gundams. It can actually do like rockets, pirouettes with its legs. It's ridiculous. When you mentioned treasure map to the most like expensive treasure of all, in my head I thought of the meme photo of a pencil drawn Kermit the Frog with a wizard hat and a gun. And the lines on it are, "Behold, the most powerful spell of all. Are you ready to meet God?" And it just flashed in my head, and I had a very happy day
How
today.
sleep deprived are you?
Fucking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I slept 14 hours. I could take a nap right now.
Yeah.
I've definitely been there. I have been there. But
Well, if Ethan doesn't have anything else, just go. You can go on ahead and
Just,
regale us with what you.
I don't want to take any of your time, brother. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I did a trip for work this week, Monday and Tuesday. I went to Kenner, Louisiana, on the south shore of Lake Pontchartrain. I'll say this: the view off of Lake Pontchartrain, gorgeous. I really love that.
I saw the
I took some
pictures.
pictures off of there. It was very nice. It was a company training event. I was actually running some of the training, so that was pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. There were a lot of sharp people in there that were willing to take the stuff, and hopefully they're going to go forward and like use what we've gone over with.
That's good.
So I was really happy about
That's
that.
why you're talented. You had to be professional, Jay.
I had to be super. No, I still cursed. It's like because the stuff.
He's just Jay at work.
No, the stuff we were training is like they've been in the shit, and so it's like if Like if I didn't curse, they would think I was an alien. Like that's how that works.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like every other word was a curse word, but every so often, we would.
Well, it was like that manager at Popeyes that was casually swearing when we were waiting for Jay's food earlier.
okay.
That was KFC.
Yeah.
You do that on more than one occasion.
Yeah, I have Alzheimer's.
That's not Alzheimer's. It's swapping Popeyes and KFC.
There's
in your
definitely a difference between KFC and Popeyes.
Yeah.
They sell chicken, but like there is definitely.
Yeah, KFC has.
I'm never not gonna know which one I'm having.
KFC has a sandwich. Popeyes has all the chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. So there was that. I do want to talk about New Orleans traffic because in order to get back to Ocean Springs, I had to go through New Orleans.
Fucked.
Yeah.
So like on the first day, so I'm driving and it's like, oh, okay, so there's the exit for Slidell, and then Google goes merge right now, and we're like, what? Has Google merge right now? It's like, okay, I'm merging right, and I'm like, now I'm on Canal Street, and I'm going through like New Orleans neighborhoods, and it's the neighborhoods that have like the photo register. So if I can't do any speeding at all, because the photos will just catch me, and I'm like, no red lights at all. Observe all the rules of the road, and like I get out from that. And I get back onto I-10 to the largest fucking pileup I've ever seen on I-10 in my life. Except I'm east
on the
of
other
it.
side.
I'm on the other side of it. All of that would like if I had tried to be like like a 20-minute diversion prevented like a 2-hour holdover waiting for cars to go by.
You would have pulled a me.
Yeah, at the bridge. Yeah, no. Every time I got on that bridge, I'm like, there better not be a fucking wreck on this one. I can't be here 2 goddamn hours. But,
especially that bridge that goes from Mississippi to Louisiana. I fucking hate going over that bridge on I-10 because it's an old ass bridge that looks like it will fall at any moment.
Yeah.
And it's a super high bridge.
Yeah.
I break the speed limit on that bridge not to gain any time. I give it
30
just to get off that
minutes.
bridge as soon as possible.
I spent 30 minutes on that bridge and I was freaking out the entire fucking time.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll admit to this. I was going over 70. It still took like 10 minutes to get from one end of that bridge to the other. And Jesus Christ!
It's a nightmare.
Yeah,
and with like
it's a good thing that you missed all that
with the shit that happened in Baltimore, like with the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck yeah.
Like even though there's no cars,
that didn't help. It was right after that.
Yeah, there's no cars around me, and I'm still looking left and right. Like, where's the tug? Where's the tug that's gonna take this bridge out? Like, what the fuck?
I'm just freaking out because
there's a Carnival cruise.
I feel like there's too much. I feel like there's too much weight on this bridge. This bridge isn't made for this kind of weight.
And also, I'm fat, so that can't help either. So just
there was probably like 50 cars on that bridge. While I was waiting.
I had to deal with pirouetting SUVs, which that was no. There's 3 lanes, and there's 2 SUVs in front of me, and I swear to God, they're not going straight. They're just going
side to side,
side to side, going 80 miles an hour, getting as far away from me as I can. But they're just going back and forth with one another.
They're just DNA spiraling.
I didn't know there was a dance routine that I had to perform to get home here. God damn it!
Yeah. They're in the search for the double helix.
Yeah.
So that thing was that was fun. Talk radio Louisiana is frightening.
Yeah, when you told me you weren't getting FM and you had to go to AM, I was like, I couldn't do what you do and just listen to the fucking radio.
As soon as I hit Welcome to Mississippi from Google, I hit in 97.9 back on the radio. It's like, okay.
Yeah, when you were
I don't know what's going on. It might be my car, it might be the city, I don't know. I was at the top of Mount I-110. And I'm just like, soon I will be out of here.
When you mentioned the Cajun radio, it reminded me of the cook that used to be on PBS a long time ago. I can't remember his name, but he was
Paul Prudhomme?
Was it?
Or is it Justin Wilson?
Justin Wilson.
Yeah, the Cajun chef.
Yeah, the Cajun chef.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Paul Prudhomme was not as strong as Justin Wilson's accent, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this one out. I apologize for anyone, but I'm listening to, again, some sort of talk radio Louisiana, and a guy who had must have just recently ate a pound of boudin is on the radio going, it's like, and we've got an opinion article coming in from one of our regular And then I thought, okay, that's a pretty strong accent. Yeah. And then I get this, and I had to stop after what I heard. He kept going, but the only thing I heard was, "If you need another reason to hate or miss," and I was like, again, I apologize. Was that accent Indo-Asian, African, Cajun, or all three at once?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful people. The food is amazing, but it's like. All it was just that for like 3 minutes, and
Right.
but again, I'm just like, meanwhile, I've got Google saying, get off of this road or you'll die. Like, it was just crazy.
You driving on I-10 is just a fever dream, and you somehow survived.
Yeah. I-10 in New Orleans, I-10 in New Orleans.
I-10 in New Orleans.
Yeah,
and then that causeway.
On that being said, 49 Gulfport, I still hate it more.
Yeah,
I still hate 49 Gulfport more. Now, to be fair, I've experienced 49 Gulfport more, so I have more stories.
49 Gulfport doesn't bother me all that much because I've spent so much time on 98 and Hardy Street in Hattiesburg.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
if
pretty
you
good
want if you want some shitty traffic for
Right.
and of course, like, compared to like super big cities, all of this is like nothing, but like. That's some ass traffic. That traffic is so
At any
ass.
given time, you could take like 15 minutes to get through Hattiesburg or an hour and a half.
Yeah. and it doesn't matter the time.
Nope.
Like, maybe at 1 o'clock in the morning you get clear sailing all the way through.
Right.
But maybe not even then.
Right.
Who fucking knows?
Because the college is literally almost on the fucking highway.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. Well, 98 becomes Hardy Street,
Right.
and it's right there on Hardy Street,
Right.
and then also on 49 part of it. So,
And since last we recorded the greatest rap war of this generation, to be added to the annals of Biggie and Tupac and Jay-Z versus Nas, Kendrick Lamar versus Drake.
This is on everyone's mind.
That went from
it's an old school one because somebody's got shot.
Yeah, that went from check plus to check 50 plus. Like, it was like everywhere. But Kendrick leads off. Well, there were 2 tracks by Drake beforehand, but the real salvo starts when Kendrick launched with Euphoria.
Well, what started the whole thing was some time ago.
Was it 3-point shooters?
It was J. Cole on the Drake song and he just said Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick are the big 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kendrick did a song with Future, I believe.
It was Future.
God, we are the whitest people in the world.
Yeah,
talking about this shit.
but it was so good. It crossed all like skin
and he just
lines.
said, "Fuck the big 3, I'm the big me." And then Drake did, and then you could go from
And then Drake had 2 songs. One of them he AI sampled Snoop Dogg and Tupac. That song disappeared once Tupac family said, "Yo, that's not cool."
Yeah.
And then finally, the true war, to me, like the true actual like hostilities begin with Euphoria. By
prior to all of this, J. Cole even like apologized.
J. Cole put out a diss, and then like the next day he was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not doing this anymore." And that's probably
back out.
And that's probably the smartest.
that one
Kendrick probably gave him the "Hey, don't come to school today."
Yeah, that was that was 7-minute drill.
Jesus.
That was 7-minute drill on a album that came out of nowhere called "Might Delete This Later," which he did. He might delete later. He did delete later.
Yeah.
100%. I believe Cole and Kendrick are friends, like, or at the very least friendly. And it's like, you have no idea what I'm about to start up.
Well, it's also that like. And I was watching a thing today where on Todd in the Shadows, and he had some weird takes on it because of some of the things that he did later. But he was like, "Yeah, that makes sense because like Cole is not a battle rapper. Like he doesn't do this type of thing, and he doesn't. And to bow out, he doesn't really lose anything." And he was like, "Well, Drake, he kind of had to do it because before he bowed out with Pusha T." When Pusha T was like, "Hey, you're a deadbeat dad because you have a secret son that nobody knows about, but I found that shit."
Yeah, and then Drake went, "Nuh-uh," and it's like, "Wait a minute, okay."
And then Drake went, "Oh, there ain't shit for me to say because he's right."
Yep. So Euphoria hits, and then before Drake can respond, Kendrick drops 616 to L.A., which was his basic warning. It's like, I know what you're about to say. Don't say it. because this is going to get bad.
Yeah.
And then Drake drops Family Matters, which the video that they did for Family Matters is that I like the video independent of the song. The beat on Family Matters kind of gets on, like, and what I mean gets under my skin, not in a way like, ooh, I want to keep listening to this. No, it's like I got some stuff under my fingernails and I need to get it out. It's just, to me, it's in a very annoying beat. It was an okay rap, and then Meet the Grams drop from Kendrick. He had that thing out an hour after Family Matters came out. An hour.
He was ready.
And he was referencing lines from that song, which he told him in 616, look, you've got a mole. I know what you're about to say. Be very careful what you do. And so as soon as Family Matters drops, Meet the Grams comes out, and it starts with the hardest line, in my opinion, in the history of opening lines for any song ever. Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father. I can't unhear that line. Like there are lines down late that, like, as it builds up, you're like, oh yeah, this is good. And it's like, okay, Drake's gonna be responding next. Drake's gonna be responding. Nope. Next day, not even 24 hours later, Kendrick drops what is the greatest dance / rap beef song in the history of the world, Not Like Us. And the photo and the album cover for it, which is the photo on YouTube for it, is Drake's house on Google Maps with 20 pedophile stickers all over it. And that thing was brutal and catchy as fuck.
Yeah, they're playing that song like when NBA teams are warming up, they're playing that song. That song was on a TNT commercial for the NBA. They used that song.
Kendrick probably offered that for free.
They used a song where Kendrick Lamar calls Drake a pedophile. Yeah. Not allegedly Drake, if you're hearing this. Allegedly.
No. Certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Like, no, it's there. It's there. Like, there is no alleged in Kendrick's words.
Well, Travelers on the Omnibus is not calling Drake a pedophile.
All of this is nothing but anecdotally.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it is 100% anecdote. Sure.
Yeah, just don't look at the breadcrumbs on that one.
Yeah. And then Drake responded back with The Heart Part 6, which doesn't Kendrick have songs called The Heart?
He had The Heart Part 5.
Part 5, okay.
On his last album.
I'll say that's actually, like, if you're going to make that play, okay, good play. That's probably the strongest thing that's come out of the Drake side of this.
Yeah. I saw a tweet where somebody was like, man, this guy sucked for Drake because this is like the best song he's put out probably in 10 years. Like everything with, like, the beat was great. The wordplay was good. He had good lines. And then completely erased because right after this, Kendrick puts out another one. Yeah, just drop it. Nobody's talking about that shit.
Family Matters was solid. It was a solid diss track. The problem is Solid is not going to fucking cut it in this war.
Yeah.
Because Kendrick is inspired.
Yeah. Kendrick, I posted in one of our other chats. It was basically this feud is basically the old Key and Peele sketch of the MMA fighters where one guy's like, I'm gonna whoop your ass, oh man, and the other guy's like, I will take your soul and I will make you humble, and it will, when your eyes cloud over, then you will know true peace. He's like, what?
As your eyes cloud over and your loved ones watch you in your hospital bed, then you will truly know peace.
Yeah,
I am an instrument of God, and He shall use me.
Yeah.
Wait. What did he just say?
He's an instrument.
That's basically what he's like. Kendrick. I mean, Drake is just like, hey, you're short, and Kendrick's like, I hate you. I hate the way you look. I hate the way you rap.
Talk.
I hate the way you dress.
I hate the women you hang out with because they're not women. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
God damn. Again, my list of people not to fuck with in hip hop. Number 1, still 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Number 2 is now Kendrick Lamar.
50 Cent is the number 1 hater. Yeah. And then now Kendrick is solidly number 2.
If you hate on 50 Cent, he will come to your son's school and slap your son in the mouth just to tell him, hey, send that to your dad. The fuck?
Just so, in case Eddie's listening to this, Tony Yayo did that. Not
Wait,
50.
Tony Yayo slapped? Okay, I thought that was 50.
No, 50 didn't do that. 50... made a video with.
Then real quick, Tony Yayo, number 3. Anyway, okay, we keep going.
Well, he only did it because of 50. So like by proxy, basically 50 did it.
Okay.
But
50 adjacent.
50 is he made the video with Rick Ross's baby mama giving her money because he said Rick Ross wasn't giving her the money she deserved.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
He also was like buying Ja Rule's like the front, like the first 10 rows of a Ja Rule concert, so he played to nobody.
Yeah.
You don't fuck with
50 Cent has a lot of money.
That man
and
holds a grudge
has nothing to do
has
with
nothing to do, and he can hold a grudge.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kendrick is solidly number 2.
Yeah.
Like the only reason this went as far as it went is because like Kendrick just fucking hates Drake so much.
2 things to end on. One, Drake with the Hard Part 6. Like, if it's true that he fed the information to Kendrick's people about the fake daughter, okay. But he also, again, he denied it when Pusha T said he didn't have a son, and then all of a sudden he had a son. So who knows? We'll see right there. Mm-hmm. And 2, someone got shot because of this at Drake's house.
Oh, Jesus!
They were taken to the hospital. They were under surgery, and they're recovering. They're recovering in the hospital. So hopefully that's as far as that goes with this. But that is, as Anthony Fantano would say on that's Beef Watch 2024 right there, John.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, that's me for this week.
All right. So I think last week I'd mentioned I'd gotten a new book. I don't think I'd gotten very far in it or at all, but I've gotten a pretty good ways into it. The book is Letters from the Luminous Deep by Sylvie Cathrall. I wanted to make sure that I called her out.
This is where 2 people are writing letters to each other.
Yeah, it's a series. It's the whole entire book is basically a series of letters between it's the brother and the sister trying to figure out, like, to go through their stuff to figure out exactly what happened and how things went. And them kind of forming a friendship, this platonic friendship that's pretty interesting, while also reading about their brother and sister respectively, forming this relationship of themselves. And it's all letters, and it's just like it's letters between the brother and the sister, and them like or they'll share like, oh, here's an extra thing that I found and stuff like this. Here's a letter from another person to my sister and things like this. On top of that, so it's a very interesting way that it is, and there's no like other dialogue besides these letters. It's just letters to each other.
Similar to How to Lose the Time War.
Similar, but even that had like, here's a little bit setting up how they found the letter.
Okay.
This is nothing but the letters.
Okay.
Or like, here's an attached thing that I found.
If my education is, it's like an epistolary novel.
Probably. I'm far enough away from learning about literature that I cannot remember exactly what that is. But if it is what I'm thinking of, then yeah. But yeah, it's a really interesting. The world is very interesting. It like everybody feels kind of Victorian, but it is also like this world that is like all water, like, and people live in like, there's basically like one landmass, and like everybody else lives basically on the sea, where it could be like a place that's anchored with a whole bunch of little things, or they're out on a ship, or one of the main characters, she lives in what's called the Deep House, which is just an underwater house, which seems to be not like super common, but it is very interesting. The way that like information is doled out. I like it, and you're just piecing together like what happened as it goes by. But it's also very interesting to see like, okay, here's this intimate relationship that's forming, and then here's this platonic relationship of these 2 people who have had trauma, who are kind of bonding and forming a friendship here. And I imagine like that's going to stay platonic because they are each married, so they're not so. But it's very nice to see. That's very surprising. On top of these 2 people kind of falling in love from a distance is also very interesting. So it's an interesting book so far. It's supposed to be like I guess a series. I don't know, because they call it the Sunken Archives Part 1. I mean, Book 1. So I don't know if this story or if it's going to just be more stories in this world. And if it's like that, that might be interesting. But I'm interested in it. It's pretty cool so far. I've also been playing more Marvel Champions. I'm trying to go through all of the new characters that I have bought. So I played. I pretty much got caught up with everything. I played, Domino, Angel, and Psylocke. Excuse me. They're all pretty interesting. Angel, he has 3 forms instead of 2. Most have just a hero and an alter ego, but he has, his alter ego. He has Angel, but then he also has Archangel. And Archangel has pretty good stats, but he's also has an accelerator token, which makes the main scheme go off faster, which could end the game quicker. But he's all about playing events that have the aerial keyword, because of course and doing special things with that and switching between his forms and things like that. So he's interesting. Domino is really cool because she's about all of her stuff make her discard the top card of her deck. So the way Marvel Champions works is to pay for anything that you're going to play. You discard cards from your hand that have symbols on the side of it. So if something costs 3, then you need to discard 3 symbols. Sometimes they'll say you need 3 to play. You need to discard a strength symbol to play this or something like that. But that's not often. There's strength. There is tech.
There's energy,
and then there's tech, and then there's a wild symbol. And she makes wild symbols that are discarded off the top of her deck count double. So, and she also has the ability to switch a card in her hand with the one from the top of the deck, so she can kind of set up her deck how she wants when you're trying to discard cards. So she's very interesting with that, with manipulating things, and that's very, very cool. And then you got Psylocke. Psylocke comes with 2 upgrades already in play. They're double-sided. On one side is the Psy knife, on the other side is the Psy katana. Each of those she can use for resources. She can just tap those to generate a resource, but then also they flip back and forth, and she gets +1 threat, which helps her get threat off of the schemes, or +1 attack for each of those. So she can be like a 3 attack or a 3 threat if she's got both of them flipped right, which is that's a really good stat line for Marvel Champions. And she's all about flipping back and forth because she has a small hand size in hero form, but she also has 2 free resources at all times. Then there's X-23. I've gotten to play her once. She's interesting because she's all about when she does damage to her, when she takes any damage, she readies herself at least once per phase. So you can do a lot of things to she can damage herself to up her attack. And she also has the ally Honey Badger, which is her sister. And when she takes damage, she readies. So you can do a lot of things with manipulating Honey Badger and bringing her back out and things like that. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Marvel Champions, I really love the game, and it's been quite a while since I played it, and I'm enjoying getting back into it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was today we did our second session of the Iron Kingdoms RPG. Our heroes traipsed through a sewer and fought some bad guys. Holder's character ripped a couple of guys' throats out.
Allegedly,
they're supposed to be city watch people, but
we watched him do it allegedly.
Listen, man, I'm gonna ask you, Ethan, have you ever played Skyrim?
Yes.
Have you ever decided that you just had enough of an NPC that was just giving you shit and they hit you first?
Yes. If they hit me first.
Or actually, you went up to talk to them normally and their bar was automatically red.
Yes.
And they hit you first.
Yes.
What was your response?
I killed them.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
They started the aggressor. They were the
We
aggressor.
were going to be nice and hit them with billy clubs.
Okay. So, we didn't quite make it to the last encounter of this first section, but
from everything I've heard, they had it coming.
I guess so. But yeah, I think it's continuing to go well. I think everybody's having fun.
Oh yeah,
I guess.
yeah, it's been
I
a
am
good time.
enjoying myself.
Okay.
I almost died. Jay almost died. It was great.
Yeah,
I want to fix something. I'm a mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
I want to give me a broken machine.
There might be a couple of those coming
good.
up. I don't
Yay.
know. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing. I'm just gonna continue prepping for the next session. Probably just trying to figure out where we're gonna stop in the next session.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Jay, do we have any feedback?
No feedback this week, but however, passengers, thank you for joining us on the bus this week. If you would like to leave feedback, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, where else can they reach us?
You can message us directly and take part in our polls on Spotify.
There you go. Also, if you're enjoying what you're listening to and would like to share that with people you know, but they do not listen to podcasts on the same channels you do, we are available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, and Amazon.
And with that, I think that will bring us to our main topic. So we're going to continue Star Wars month with this. Today's topic is going to be about Star Wars tabletop. One of the things that George Lucas did was he decided he was going to market the ever-loving shit out of Star Wars. So, you had your Star Wars toys, and then, you eventually got Star Wars on the tabletop. And this could have been board games, card games, miniature games. We're going to talk at least a little bit about most of these things. RPGs, role-playing games of all different types. Actually, when I started doing a little research on this, I found out that there's some super old Star Wars games. Some of them were just I can't remember what the name of the first one was, but it was just basically reading through these books with charts and shit, and then
choose your own adventure.
Sort of, kinda, yeah. But then there were also these kind of hex and counter games where okay, if you wanted to play the Battle of Hoth, here's a hexagonal grid, and you get these little chits out there, and you're gonna play through.
Avalon Hill presents Star Wars.
That is the Avalonist Hill game I can think of right now.
And there was one for the first Star Wars, there was one for the Battle of Hoth, and there was one for the Battle of Endor. Yeah, every time that there was a Star Wars, then the big battle there was one of these hex and counter games.
Oh wow!
Which surprised me. I didn't know that, so that's pretty cool.
Was there a table to determine how fast the wind was blowing?
I don't know. I didn't read that much into it, but I just saw that and I thought that was cool, and I wanted to mention it because you got the little standees of the little AT-ATs and everything. It's pretty cool. So yeah, then we've got all kinds of flavors of when it comes to board games. There's just all kinds of flavors of the Star Wars games, because you can do the big super epic games, and you can also do the very small games. One of those being, and Jay, I know you wanted to mention this, the Star Wars deck building game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Star Wars deck building game is a recent, within the last year and a half from Fantasy Flight Games, which right now, as far as card games specifically, if you want to get a good card game out of Star Wars, you're going to Fantasy Flight. It's a 2-player game. It's a genre where it's very hard, in my opinion, to build a good 2-player deck building game. Mm-hmm. Star Realms does it okay, but even then, it's a very snowbally game. If somebody gets out to a lead, they can usually keep the momentum in that. I feel that the deck building game does a very good job of, one, relaying the theme of Star Wars. It's the Empire versus the Alliance. It's a field of a row of cards that will either be neutral, which anybody can buy, or it'll be themed towards one of the two sides, either Rebel or Imperial. And for the Rebels, you can buy your own cards, or you can blow up Imperial cards, and vice versa for the Imperial. Also, and you get rewards based on what you blow up, and when you buy your card, it goes into your deck, and you'll be able to play that. Mm-hmm. So there's this very kind of cool tension where are you more willing to build, or do you want to disrupt their building in order to be able to kind of keep them on the back foot so that you can keep progressing the way you want to do? I like that there's also a balance of the Force, and if the balance goes more so one way than it does the other, you can start getting additional resources, which helps you out greatly. But just having it just one step towards you and having the balance of the Force means that certain cards will produce better for you whenever you play them.
Yeah,
I think it's a fantastic little system, easy to grok. The winner is the person who blows up a number of bases, which it's determined at the start of the game how many bases you'll play. The typical game is 3 or 4. And after that, however many bases blow up, you win the game. The bases themselves also change the course of the game because they have different abilities. Some are as soon as you reveal them, something happens, or as the game or each round as something progresses. One of my favorite ones, I want to say it's Yavin. It's either Yavin or Cloud City, but whenever you force them to discard a card, they also take a damage to their base. And so it's this way of getting damage on the base. I think the Rebels have that one. The Imperials don't have a corollary to that that does the same thing. They have the Death Star, which can blow up like whole battleships and eventually maybe even target the base itself. So that's pretty cool.
There have been many times I've played this against specifically Joseph Navarro. Shout out to him. And he's always like, I get rid of his base. He's like, cool. Bring out the Death Star. Shoot all of your battleships.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like. Capital ships are like one of the few permanent things that stay on the board for you. So if you can get those out of the way and keep yours flying, it's a big bonus.
Yeah, it's that base destruction thing is a really interesting like way of like a catch up mechanic, because like, okay, yeah, I'm one step closer to losing, but I'm going to get to do a powerful ability usually as soon as I reveal it. And it's gonna screw you over in some way, so that's gonna help me like get closer to parity. So that's really so yeah. There's a lot of stuff about that little game that is really good, because oftentimes what they will do is they will take another game and they will just put a Star Wars skin on it, and sometimes they'll change things around, and sometimes they won't. But this is a very good, example of them building it from the ground up, and This you would have to change a lot of stuff for this to be something besides Star Wars. So that's pretty cool with that. So let's see.
Yeah, so just going back to what Brady said earlier real quick, because I wanted to find out exactly what those games were. There's one called Battle at the Sarlacc Pit,
okay,
from 1983, and it was actually by Parker Brothers, but it's a hex game, which is really strange. And Avalon Hill did make one for Phantom Menace called the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one to start with, because for those of you who are either like young or weren't around at the time when episode 1 was about to come out, like the marketing blitz is like an understatement for this movie, because it's the first Star Wars in forever, the first new stuff, and they like the marketing was, they did so much stuff. That's why there's like 50 video games that are episode 1, and then when episode 2 came out, there was like maybe 2 games.
Right.
And it's the same thing when it comes to board games. So Queen's Gambit, you can't find this anymore. If you find it, like you're paying out the ads for this. And but it's a very cool game, and it's basically you're playing the finale of episode 1, where it's a multi-pronged battle. You have this big, and it's this really cool 3D, like you're playing Queen Amidala trying to get into the throne room, and it's this like 3-tiered thing where she's fighting through, her and her team are fighting through droids, and they're like miniatures, like, and then over here you have the Duel of the Fates, where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are fighting Darth Maul, and then over here you have Anakin trying to do whatever bullshit in space he's doing.
He's trying to destroy the Star Destroyer.
Sure.
Spinning, it's a good trick.
Yeah. And then over here you have the Gungans fighting the droids over here, and all of these are like 3D models. So it's it's this multi-pronged game that you're playing, and you're trying to win. I've never played it, but I've seen it several times, and it looks like a really cool game.
Unfortunately, it's between $500 and $1,000.
Yeah, like because it's a super premium looking game, and it just is not made anymore, and is never going to be remade again. Sort of, kind of put an asterisk. I'll get to that in a second. It's a super collectible thing, and it's super expensive. but it's supposed to be like one of the best things to come.
Holy shit!
Was that?
Here's an image of it set up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dear
look at
Lord.
it. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a 2-player game.
Jesus.
So
It's got proprietary. I can't ever say it. Proprietary dice. You know.
Yeah.
There's a history of Star Wars 2-player games that take up large table space.
Yeah. So that one was sort of kind of remade into Star Wars Risk, which is basically a pared down version of that. In that one, you're playing the finale of Return of the Jedi. So you have the space battle where Lando is and all of his team are trying to take out the Death Star. Then you have the Luke and Vader fight, and then you have the fight with on Endor with with Han and Leia and the Ewoks and all that. It is not near as premium as that. Even the premium edition of that one, it looks decent, but it's not as nice as that. And I don't think it's involved. I think they simplified it a lot. I've heard that one is okay, but it's not super great. That one came out about the same time we got Loopin Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
That one came out, which that's a reskin of a game called Loopin Louie, where it's kind of like a little fun, simple, kind of dexterity-ish game.
Yeah, it's a dexterity game. Yep. No, you have in Loopin Chewie, you have a barn. You have a barn blazer trying to like knock chicken eggs off of barns, and you have a little button that the chicken will knock them out of the way. For Loopin Chewie, it's Chewie's driving the Millennium Falcon, and he's sticking out of the cannons.
And
he's trying to knock out stormtroopers.
Yeah, Jay's brought that up here quite.
That
I was about to say we
has
played
no
that.
right to be as fun as it is.
It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of this, but I've seen there's like a bluey version of this that I have seen.
Okay.
Loopin. Okay, yeah, I could see Loopin Bluey. Yeah. Okay.
So
I remember a few months ago, it was me and Jay were up here. I think it was also Jody up here. We were on the topic of Star Wars, and Jay pulls up a video of people sitting down and playing the interactive Star Wars board game, where there was also the VHS that you pop in.
They did that on Beer and Board Games.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's fantastic. Funny side note for Beer and Board Games, you should check out that episode. It's the Star Wars board game, interactive board game. Because of rights and everything, they had to overdub all the VHS parts.
That's funny.
And so, yeah, it's an experience.
That's funny.
But that looked cool.
Oh,
and
yeah.
looked fun.
Yeah, and they had tons of stuff like that back in the day. There were, if there was a genre of something, there was going to be a Star Wars.
It started with the interactive VHS tape started with Nightmare, I believe. Yeah, and then everybody had one.
Which in Europe was Atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
Spelled FEAR.
Yeah.
Stop. Whose turn is it?
I think that was there was a NarbyCon where I think Manny brought that up here.
Yeah, he did.
And played it. I remember seeing. I didn't play it, but I saw them
playing
playing
Nightmare.
it.
That is a game built for children. Here's what I mean by that. Every so often, the gatekeeper will say, "You go to the Blago, and you cannot leave until you roll your age." It's like, when you're 8 years old, it's okay. I'll roll the dice twice. Oh, I got to 8. I get out of here. I'm 44. I ain't rolling dice that fucking long. God damn it.
Yeah. So speaking of games that came from the Star Wars, Episode 1, and in that era, there's also Star Wars Epic Duels, which was, hey, you want to see which one of these guys wins in a fight? Here it is,
Padme Amidala versus Jexter Dexter.
Yeah,
it was
great. If they had that would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So yeah, it was a card based, but it was this version I've never played, and we'll talk about the version that I have played in just a second. This played on like a square grid, and you played cards to do like attacks and stuff like that. This game is notable because it was remade by Restoration Games into the Unmatched series, which is a very good series of games They took a lot of parts of that, and then they also took some parts from the game Tannhauser.
Yeah, the combat side, the attack and defense is primarily Jedi power. I always call it Jedi power duels. For
you're
some
thinking
reason.
of the video.
I'm thinking of the video game.
Yeah.
But Star Wars Epic Duels, and then the movement system that you have in that comes from Tannhauser. Both of them are very simplified and very easy. It's like if you want to move, you have a set move value. If you want to move more, you have to sacrifice one of your cards.
Yeah.
And same thing in the battle, you're picking a card. If you don't think that the card is gonna hurt you too bad, you may not play any defense at all. But if you have a defense card, you can play it, flip them over, compare that. It's very crisp. It is very exact. It's a very good system, unmatched. And like I said, if the combat side of things, and also. Now that we're at this, Queen's Gambit, I think also maybe Star Wars Risk, but definitely Star Wars Epic Duels, Rob Daviau. This was the era of Hasbro where Rob Daviau was in Hasbro and like really putting forward some fantastic, well put together games. Like we've mentioned this here before. I mentioned very briefly, Risk Legacy. Risk starts at Hasbro. I think if they had the sense to do it, I think they would give him his own studio inside of Hasbro instead of let him go off and do his own thing, because I think we wouldn't have had as many legacy games as we got, but we got legacy games.
Queen's Gambit was Rob Daviau.
Was Rob Daviau, yeah.
He was one of 3 on that.
One of 3, yeah. And if he wasn't in the lead, you can feel Rob Daviau's kind of fingerprints over on that one.
And that one was Avalon Hill.
Yeah.
So yeah. It became the Unmatched series. I played the shit out of the Unmatched series. That one, instead of doing Star Wars stuff, it just does mostly random things that are in the public domain.
Yeah.
King Arthur, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, a Bigfoot, Robin Hood, Medusa.
Do they have
Sun
Sherlock
Wukong.
Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes.
They have Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Sun Wukong, Bloody Mary.
A genie.
A genie, Houdini, Bruce Lee, and then they did a series of Marvel games, Marvel
Those are the
versions
ones I
of it.
played.
There's a Buffy and the Vampires box of it.
Most recently, we've had Tales to Amaze, which is the first co-op version of it,
There's a
which I
co-op
think
version
makes for a very good co-op game.
Yeah.
Again,
The Loveland Frog.
yeah, the Loveland Frog is in there.
The new set of that's coming out is Slings and Arrows, where it's Shakespeare, the witches from Macbeth, Hamlet, and Titania from a Midsummer Night's Dream.
Sounds awesome.
Shakespeare is trying to play out his cards.
It's based off of Sons of Anarchy.
Shakespeare is trying to play out his cards in iambic pentameter. I'm not lying.
No. I know you're not lying. That's why I'm shaking my head.
So yeah, we've got
Iambic pentameter allows for 10 beats a line.
Yeah. So we've got that. Another kind of reskin that I haven't played, but I played the original version, is Star Wars Villainous. I played the original Villainous. In Star Wars Villainous, you play one of some villain from Star Wars, and it's super asymmetrical. You all have your own player boards, and you're taking actions on those player boards, and you have your own plan that you're trying to do. Like I know Darth Vader's on there, Darth Maul, Asajj Ventress.
Boba Fett is on the cover of the box.
Boba Fett's, I think, is in one of the, because there's like tons of expansions for this. The original one was Disney Villainous, where you're playing the Disney villains. And they've also have Marvel Villainous, but this one, you're playing all these people, and then you also have your own deck, which is super asymmetrical, where you're trying to do your own thing, and then you have. I think it becomes a shared deck where you shuffle them all together of like nemesis. So like you can play it. You can actually take an action where you play out one of these cards onto another person, and it's like, okay, now you have to deal with the good guy over here, and they're blocking off some of your stuff and giving you less actions. But they're
Is that similar to the way they handle it in Marvel Champions, where you have certain cards for each hero that go into the villain deck?
Sort of, kind of. So they've changed the way it goes, because in Disney Villainous, like everybody has their own like nemesis deck, where when you play a card, you just pick somebody and you just play the top card of that deck, and it goes and it has to do with them. But I think with Marvel and Star Wars, what they did was you shuffle them all together now. don't necessarily quote me on that because I haven't played the Star Wars version. I keep thinking like I might get the Star Wars or the Marvel version because I gave away my Disney version because it's a beast to teach because you can teach everybody like the basic things, but the strategy of how to go about winning with your person is different for literally every single person.
Gotcha.
Because you're taking the same kinds of actions because basically all you do is you have like so many spaces on your board and you're moving your pawn to one of those spaces and taking all of the available actions there that you want to do. And that's the entire game, but you are all trying to do something different, you know. Like just for example, in the Disney Villainous one, if you're Cruella, you're trying to get 99 puppies where you're trying to get you have these puppy tokens and you're trying to get 99 tokens. Like Captain Hook, he's trying to find Peter Pan out of his Nemesis deck and defeat him. And so Prince John is literally just trying to get 20 power, which is the currency that you spend to take some actions and stuff like that. And it's the same for Star Wars Villainous. But Villainous is a pretty cool thing. It's just a beast to teach, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't really gone back to it.
The Villainous games intrigue me enough to make me want to try them at least once.
They're fun, and they are fun in the concept, and it's very cool just looking at it and being like, okay, this person is totally different than this other person. I had so many of the expansions because they have a big box and then they have like all these little like 3-person expansions or 2-person expansions now. But it's an interesting game system. Another one that they took a previous game system and put Star Wars in it, but then they changed it, I think, a decent amount, is they actually did a pandemic version of the Clone Wars. So in this, you are literally the Republic fighting the droids, and instead of fighting a disease, and you have like the villains will actually come out, like you'll have to come out and deal with Darth Maul and stuff like this. And I think this uses some stuff from the Pandemic Fall of Rome, where you can't just go there. You know, in Pandemic, you go to a place and you just take the cure action and you take a cube away. In this, you actually have to go and fight the robots. So you have to go and like try and beat them. So
it's Helldivers 2, the board game, is what I'm hearing.
Well, no, it's not Starship Troopers. So yeah, it's different. It's Pandemic, but I think it plays differently depending on like who is the quote unquote general for the separatists that you're playing as. Because like Grievous plays different than Dooku and things like that. I've heard good things about that one. I haven't played that because I've kind of been burnt out on Pandemic, so I haven't played any new versions of that.
Speaking of Starship Troopers, there's a video of Casper Van Diem reacting to Helldivers by just quoting lines from the movie, which is fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Well, what else does Casper Van Dien have to do?
Nothing.
I don't think he.
Why are we're taking a valuable time talking shit about Casper Van Dien. This is the most Casper Van Dien's been talked about in 10 minutes.
Probably.
You've
also got, keeping with this, you've also got Love Letter, Jabba's Palace. This is another one I haven't played, but it is Love Letter with a little bit different. I know the difference with this one is that there's multiple, like there's good guy cards and there's bad guy cards.
Yeah.
And they have different abilities and they play a little bit different.
Yeah, it's almost like the reskin, the Batman reskin is a little bit different than the original game.
Yeah, the Batman is just ever so slightly different, and I think the Jabba's Palace one changes it a little bit more.
I like the Batman version because it makes the guard card get you points. Whereas normally you just get points by getting to the end of it.
Yeah, that tiny little change, and I think they change a little bit more in the Jabba's Palace one from that.
May I offer a slight detour?
Okay.
I was looking at Casper Van Dien and I'm like, hang on.
No, I take it back. Let's keep going.
I'm going with it. He stars in a movie called Sharktopus versus Werewolf.
I'm sure he does.
Moving on.
That's probably on Tubi.
Moving on.
Can I tap out? Can I just
No, really quick. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the collectible games. We really can't touch on most of them because like right now, there's a new Star Wars Unlimited, which is the collectible card game. I haven't had a chance to play it. I've seen a little bit about it. Has anybody?
Our friend JT, Jared Taylor, he plays regularly on Sundays.
Okay.
They have imagine Friday Night Magic, but it's for Star Wars Unlimited.
Okay.
And that one's made by
That's Fantasy Flight.
They keep trying. Like they'll make one of those games. They're just like throwing spaghetti against the wall because what was the name of the dice one that was a card plus dice?
I wanted to get Destiny. that. So there's also Destiny. Destiny I have played, and Jay has played way more than me.
Yeah,
and is more familiar with it.
I liked the game. Honestly, I think it was a very solid game. It adds something. It adds more randomness to an already CCG because your cards can also be represented by dice and how you put those into play. I liked the game. My problem with it had nothing to do with the design. It had everything to do with, this set has just dropped, and like it felt like a month and a half later. Here's the next set. I'm like, I'm dumping $400 to get everything for that set, and now it's a month and a half later, and I have to try to get another $4. There are certain with all collectible card games, there are certain archetypes that work in certain themes. I had a Admiral Thrawn. Unther Plut, basically the guy who's running and in Force Awakens was the guy. Who was running the ship. Unkar Plut. I can't even remember it now. That
Plot,
deck,
maybe.
Yeah, that deck was that was the hardest, and when I mean hardest control deck I've ever played. As soon as I got done with my turn one, I pretty much had you locked out.
Yeah, that I played that deck that you made, and that was actually fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I played anything else, but I remember playing that and being like, "Oh man, this is really fun." But I didn't get into it because it was another collectible thing.
I had a Rey Qui-Gon deck that was all like that one was more my style usually because it was hyper.
Is that game still live? Or?
Oh no,
no,
I didn't. No, they made their money and then it's like okay,
they
we're
cashed
done
out
and we're good.
Yeah,
and then they moved on. They moved on to other stuff. Like they didn't immediately move on to Star Wars Unlimited. The first game, any kind of card game they did was the Star Wars LCG, and that game, some of its DNA is still in Unlimited because it was asymmetrical. Like the rebels are trying to blow up the Death Star, but they can also win to the balance of the forces a certain way, and they achieve certain things. Same thing for the dark side. It was an okay game, but when Android Netrunner came out, that to me is the height of competitive LCGs. Very close second is the Game of Thrones game, but the Game of Thrones game was more of a classic card game, whereas Android with the asymmetricalness of it, it was so much different. It was so more novel. If I had to pick one out of that, it'd be Android. Star Wars was a good LCG, but it wasn't one of the greats. That, I think the Call of Cthulhu game also I think was probably better than that. I only played that once or twice, but I could see
played that one.
I could see where the guts of that really worked out.
And I know a while back, like early 2000s, there was a collectible card game for Star Wars.
There was a collectible card game. Oh yeah, that's the Decipher. Oh no, way earlier than that. Like it came out, I want to say 2 or 3 years after Magic.
Oh, okay.
It was by Decipher.
90s, okay.
Yeah, it was by Decipher.
I've heard people talk about it. I've never seen it.
I used to have cards for it, but nobody played it. So all I have is nice, cool pictures of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. So.
Yeah, and then we've got the big kind of overarching games. I think that I can think of, there's 3 in there. You got Rebellion, which is basically playing Star Wars. If you wanted to play that out,
I own the game. I love the game. I wish I could get it played more. But it is 2 big boards put together create the galaxy. It is a 2-player game. There's a 3-player mode and a 4-player mode. The 3-player mode is 2 people play the Empire, and 1 person plays the Rebellion. And then the 4-player mode, 2 people play the Rebellion, 2 people play the Empire. That's the only real difference in that. There are certain timing issues, like the Rebellion player goes first, then both Empire players, and then on the back end the other Rebellion player plays as well. So it's kind of a weird static there. It's a great game. To me, the pure experience of that is a 2-player game. They tack that 4-playerness.
It's made to be a 2-player
to
game.
have it.
But it's basically, it's if you've ever seen or played any game like War of the Ring, it's basically that, but in Star Wars. Of course, it doesn't play exactly like that, but it's made to be this big, epic, gigantic game where you are playing through the movie.
Do you think
basically a retelling of the
story? Do you think they shoehorned in the 4-player aspect of it because they didn't think people would spend $100 on a premium 2-player game?
Most of the time, they will. Board game companies will do that, where this is really a 2-player game, but we'll add on that it's. Hey, you can play it 4-player, just with some caveats,
right?
But it's usually made to be
because that was like $100 board game, right?
Yeah, it was an expensive board.
Then I agree with that. I would say that doesn't get as many people to buy the game,
right,
as I think they think they're getting.
That's the issue, because then you still have like I just said, War of the Ring. It's only 2-player. They don't tell you like, hey, you can play 4 players with this. It's 2-player, and it's still around, and it's still being played, and it's still apparently being bought because they keep coming out with new editions of it. So but the
original version of that I hate because the readability of that map is garbage. Like, wait, which Lothlorien is this one? It's and it's also some of the borders and boundaries are very hard to tell, and depending on that, it could literally swing a game to being more pro good guys to pro bad guys, literally like on a flip of a coin almost.
Rebellion, I think I played once or twice, but we played it where I think it was 4 players. But that is one that I would like to get played a 2-player game of. And
I've had the expansion for that forever, which I love the expansion because it added green dice, which are less likely to hit, but the units therefore are cheaper. So if you're the Rebellion side, maybe you can actually afford these, because there's a huge disparity between what the Empire can throw out there and what the Rebellion can throw out there.
Well, what are we doing tomorrow?
We're doing Chinatown.
Okay. What was I going to say? The expansion basically adds in Rogue One stuff.
Yeah.
I saw that for the first time the other day.
Rogue One is very, very good.
It's good.
It's very, very good.
And
did you like it?
I did.
Of the new movies, it's the best one.
And then I got sad when everyone died.
Yeah, well, you should have seen that coming because they're not in episode 4.
Yeah.
Except for Mon Mothma, you were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see her again. She's gonna make it. Everybody else. You've also got Outer Rim, which I think we've played up here, where you're playing
where you're playing the smuggler side.
The scum and villainy. You're doing bounties and you're doing smuggling missions. That one was pretty cool. I remember.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. I remember that one being interesting.
I own that one, and I have the neoprene mat of it.
Then you've got This Game Is Dead, but you've got Imperial Assault, which was basically a 1 versus all game, kind of like the old style of Mansions of Madness, where one person was running the bad guys.
It was basically the Descent style of
it was
game.
Descent. That's why I was more that's a better.
And even then, like they that was their first skirmish mode miniatures.
Yeah, they
game.
also had an alternate version where you could build teams and play missions of that. Which was very interesting. I think they lost that one because they kept coming out with expansions, and it's like, hey, we put Boba Fett on the front cover of this expansion. He's not in the game. He's a token in the game. If you want his mini, you have to buy him separately.
$15.
That's not cool.
Sold.
Yeah.
It
was very much like,
that is 2 separate responses.
Here are these big expansions, but then there's also these little expansions with miniatures in them, and you're gonna get some miniatures in that big expansion. But the guy who's on the cover is
not getting. See, that's what I'm saying. That's not cool.
That's a tease.
It was.
Yeah, you get the miniature for Blamagon Uptadai, but who is that exactly?
Yeah. It's a guy we invented for this expansion.
Yeah, you can look at Boba Fett on the box.
Yeah.
For some people, that's enough.
And it was one of those where it just like threw product at you, and it was very overwhelming. But I've heard it's a good game. I never got to play it, but I've heard good things about it. I think that's everything with like on the board game side, unless anybody has anything else.
We've also dwelled on the card game side of stuff as well.
Yeah. So I think we can move on to talking about like. I think a place where Star Wars is doing really well right now is in the miniature game side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Basically, at every level of Star Wars, whatever is your fancy, there is a game for it. If you want to play, if you want to get into an X-Wing and you want to fight TIE fighters and shit like that, there is the X-Wing miniatures
Star
game.
Wars X-Wing.
Which is a very fun game that I am so bad at that I don't ever want to play it again.
When I worked at the shop, and there was this group of people that would always come up here, play X-Wing weekly, and I'm like, that looks really fun, but it just never bothered to ask him. Like,
It baffles me that they have like multiple space battle miniature games that are still both doing well at the same time.
Yeah, X-Wing is in its second edition. I don't think it's as big as it used to be, but it is still definitely being
Armada's
made.
the other one, right?
Yeah, and then for the higher, level of like capital ships, then you have Armada, which I am even worse at. So with X-Wing, it's all spatial recognition, but it's also about predicting because you set your dials for how your guys are going to move every round, and I am so bad at planning that out. And it's even worse in Armada because you have to plan that out 3 turns in advance.
Yeah.
So you set 3 dials and set them on top of each other.
So what I love about Armada, and I'm gonna touch very quickly on the other major American science fiction institution.
Yeah.
So you have Star Wars. You have Star Wars X-Wing. WizKids came out with Star Trek Attack Wing. Both of these games are based off of a dogfighting World War I dogfighting game called not Wings of War.
Wings of Glory?
Wings of Glory.
Yeah,
thank
Wings
you.
of Glory.
And that is for World War I dogfighting. Star Wars. The fighting that was done in that was based off of World War I and World War II dogfighting,
Yes.
and seeing that. So that's one of the reasons why that kind of feels real because it was based off of real stuff. That works for fighter craft. Star Trek Attack Wing tried to graft that onto capital ships,
Right.
and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It's weird to see the Enterprise like zooming around and doing like 180 turns and shit like that.
Yeah, and like they added things like instead of doing that, what they would do is they would have a back, like they could just literally just back up, like they just go on full reverse. It doesn't work that way. So now the reason why I mentioned that is this.
Plus, those miniatures looked way worse.
Yeah, Baby Blue Enterprise D, my favorite spaceship of all time. Looks Baby Blue. Like Steven Schmoo tried to argue that with me, and I'm like, no, this looks like garbage. Stop trying to.
It objectively looks worse because in X-Wing and Armada, all the miniatures are pre-painted and they're like washed and like really nice looking. Whereas they did not. They're just it's HeroClix level almost. Except for like the Borg stuff. The Borg stuff didn't look bad.
Didn't WotC do one called Dragon Wing, or am I misremembering?
Yes.
They did D&D Dragon Wing.
And that was also WizKids.
Oh, okay.
WizKids did both of those.
WizKids,
But and they got the D&D license for that. So when Armada is plotting exactly how fighting with capital ships ought to be when you have these giant ships that are going there. It was great. It's second only in my brain to Battlefleet Gothic as far as like capital ship battle in space with a franchise tacked onto it. With Battlefield, it's 40K, or Battlefleet, it's 40K. Armada is plotting and slow. You have to have a long game strategy, and then where your tactics really come in on your smaller ships. Your smaller ships dials, you only have to set usually one. The bigger the ship, the more people that are on it, the more you have to. You have to set 3 turns ahead and hope that everything up to that point has gone the way you wanted it to. Because if it didn't. Now you have this. Now you literally have a traffic jam in space where you kind of locked everybody in together.
I am horribly bad at.
Yeah,
it's a good game. I'm just so bad at it. I can't do this. I can't play this game.
Yeah, that game is long strategy, and I love that. I wish it had caught hold more because the few times I played it here, I absolutely enjoyed it. I have the $200 Darth Vader's executor.
Yeah.
I have the Super Star Destroyer.
So Armada is like long form strategy, whereas like X-wing is more like quick, loose, and fast tactics.
An X-wing game can be what, like
X-wing can be about 30 minutes to 2 hours, and in those what's crazy about the 2 hour games, that first hour is like the first 2 turns because you have a bunch of ships.
Right.
As the ships start dying out, there's less actions because every ship has an action. So when you get it down to like maybe 2 to 3 ships left and they're all flying and maneuvering on another, the tension rises.
Right.
That's where that game goes super stellar. Like that an X-wing game that gets like to the hour point and it's gotten down to that moment, that's when you've both really just like done all this stuff to one another, and like there's a history to this game. Like, those games are like some of the best.
And Armada takes a little bit longer, right?
Armada, my average time was about 2 hours.
Yeah.
We did have one game that went almost 3 hours, but it was literally 2 people who'd never played before, and I was proctoring it. So a lot, and they'd done miniatures games before where it's like I go, you go, whereas opposed to this is more of like when I go, you go, like I have my whole turn and you have your whole turn. More Games Workshop style stuff. This one is I go, you go, like right off the top one another, depending on where the initiatives go.
And then we have like the ground guys.
Yeah, and then when you get on the ground, you have the army level one is Star Wars Legion, where it's a very interesting style of game because part of building your army one is also you have all these upgrades and everything like that for units, but then you also have a phase where you're each playing a card, and this tells you what units you can just activate without having to do it randomly. Otherwise, every unit is a different type, and those correspond to a token, and those go into a bag, and you randomly draw them. But whatever you played on your card lets you activate it without doing that. You get to choose when to activate it instead of randomly activating it. So that's a very interesting way of doing things.
I also like a miniature game like that because I'm not really a minis guy.
Yeah.
But I like a game like that has like you have 3 measurements that they like include in the game, right? Like 3 little like plastic sticks.
Yeah.
For 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch or whatever it is.
Yeah. With Legion, I can't remember how it has proprietary measurement tools, right?
Yeah.
And it's speed 1, 2, and 3. And if a thing is a repulsor, it has to kind of do that entire movement, which can be dangerous because that could fly you off the board or into a bad situation.
Actually have to follow along how it's moving and things like that. So it's got different rules for different things.
The movement rules in Legion I love because typically it's who is the squad leader.
Right.
You measure from the squad leader, and then everybody is an inch within him.
Right.
So you have a kind of set speed for the unit, but then depending on how you need to move, maybe they all move up in front of him, like they all kind of like rushed ahead of him, and they've got their guns drawn out. Like so, just visually, kind of imagination wise,
and it makes moving quicker. This is basically how the new edition of War Machine how it moves.
Right.
Now that one they had to change things to where now it's 5-man squads instead of 10-man squads, but yeah, it's similar to I've only played I've got a decent amount of Legion, but I've only really played it once. But so that's the big army sized game, and then you have the tactical skirmish type game, and this is Star Wars Shatterpoint. This is the one that I have the most experience with. So you're playing a strike team, which is 2 squads, and the squads at most are going to have 4 models on them. You're going to have a primary. Each squad is going to have a primary unit, which comes with a set amount of points, and then a secondary unit and a support unit. Which is usually 2 models, but there are some support units that are only 1 model. And you build 2 of these squads. So usually at most you have 8 models that you're worried about. And the really interesting thing of that is the way scoring works. You have this kind of track that's on a continuum where there's a token in the middle. And as you score points, you move it over to your side, but then it goes back over to the other person's side when they score points. And you're trying to get it all the way to the end. But as you wound people, you get to add momentum tokens, which makes it easier to get on your side. You don't have to go quite as far. I like that's really cool. And then my favorite thing about the game is that when you roll dice, you're not rolling to see how much damage you do. Every character has a combat tree. Think of it like so you're moving along it. So if I score 3 hits, that means I get to move 3 spaces onto my tree, and I might have different ways that I can go and do different things. So if I want to do a whole lot of damage, I can move along, I can count and see, okay, if I move along this way, I can put a whole lot of damage on you, but maybe I also want to put a whole lot of status effects on you. And then your primary units have two different trees basically that they can flip back and forth on, which is really cool. There's also certain symbols on your dice will be expertise, and depending on how much you roll, you get to add extra things to your roll. Like maybe you turn a critical hit into a miss or something like that, or you add more defense, or it just adds you a critical which can't be blocked and things like that. So it's really interesting. I think they've done some really cool things with all of the characters. Like you got Mace Windu, he's a powerhouse. He just wants to get in there and he wants to fight things. Darth Vader, there's 2 Darth Vaders right now, and both of them are the same. It does an interesting thing where each side has a deck with all of your characters in it, and you're going to randomly, okay, off the top of my deck, okay, I can do one of 2 things now. I can either activate this unit. Do I want to do that, or do I want to wait? If I wait, then I can spend a force, which is kind of the currency that you spend, and put it in reserve. And then you also have a Shatterpoint card, which when I draw this, then I can activate any unit, even if it's already activated. So it's got some really interesting play stuff in there.
And thematically, I love that because it's that kind of chaos of just like a gang fight.
Yeah.
Like who's going in, who's has the initiative, who's reacting to what. I like that.
Yeah, and it's really hard. Like in this game, you're very rarely going to completely take out a unit. Like you're gonna wound it, probably, but to completely wipe a unit off the board is very hard.
And you may also not want to wound it because on its wounded side, it actually might get certain bonuses that, or it gets situational to where it could be.
You're thinking of Crisis Protocol.
Am I?
With that one, it when you're wounded, it just means that it's harder for you to do things. Your things cost extra force.
Oh, okay. So they haven't introduced somebody who as they get. To me, that would be a great thing to kind of.
I want to say Maul has some special abilities if he's injured or whatever. But as he takes damage, he does special things. I think he gets extra strength or something, or he rolls extra dice for how much damage he has or something like that. But yeah, it's really interesting. Just the counterplays that you have and the way, because oftentimes you're not even necessarily wanting to, because you're controlling points on the board, and that's how you get points. You're controlling little objectives on the board, and that's how you get points, if that makes it more clear. And sometimes you don't even necessarily want to try and take somebody out. Sometimes you just want to do pushes and push them off the point to where now you're controlling it or something like that. So it's not always about okay, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to kill this thing. It's about, okay, how can I position myself, and maybe I have this ability that lets me push them or something like that. Maybe I can, when I attack them, I can get enough to do these shoves, which slowly move them away and things like that. So it's a very interesting game. It's one of these, like I said, I think a few weeks ago I mentioned really getting into these skirmish games. So it's really interesting, and they've got some cool characters. They've got some of my favorite older Jedi not older, but from the Clone Wars era Jedis that I like.
Yeah, there's in Plo Koon.
Yeah, I just picked that box up. Cool. He's a harder character to use, but I got him because the supporting units in that are really good for a team that I have.
There's a squad pack coming out soon that has General Solo, Chewie, and Rebel Commandos as they appeared in Battle of Endor.
Yeah, I'm picking up that one, and I want to get the Luke Skywalker from the Return of the Jedi box, because that's my favorite version of Luke Skywalker. They also just announced. There's no rules out for them, but there is the Death Star escape box where it's Leia, Han, and Luke in in Stormtrooper outfits, and then Chewie. So that one's cool. They've got some Star Wars Rebels packs that's coming out. They just released a pack that's the Bad Batch. They've got a whole bunch of Jedi. They've got a whole bunch of if you want to play Ewoks, you can play all Ewoks. There's 2 Ewok boxes.
They have General Grievous. I'm sold.
Yeah, General Grievous, he's pretty good. Count Dooku has a box. He's really good.
You can actually, if you get, I think the first Shatterpoint box, wasn't that Grievous versus Kenobi?
No, that one had Anakin. and Ahsoka, adult Ahsoka.
I'm thinking of the Legion box that had Kenobi and Grievous in it. My bad.
And then for the bad guys, it had Asajj Ventress and Darth Maul. Who most of that box is really good, and you can find that for like sometimes I've seen it several times on Amazon on sale for like $89, and that's a $160 box. So if this does sound interesting to you, I would say definitely pick that up because you get two full squads and then a bunch of terrain and all the tokens and everything.
There's a new game announced based off of the chess game in the movie.
Oh, Sabak. No. Yeah, that's the card. Okay, yeah.
We're talking about the chess game.
Yep.
That R2
Let the Wookiee win.
Let the Wookiee win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let the Wookiee win.
I saw there is somebody created the Sabak card game. I don't know. I think when the Solo game came out, the Solo movie.
It always messed with my head. So there's Sabak, but then in Knights of the Old Republic, they're playing Pazak, and I'm like, did they do that just to fuck with my brain?
Probably.
Currently, this board game is available early access at Disney parks.
No, of course.
Well, I can never play it.
So an interesting thing that I found, unless anybody, I think that does anybody else have anything else?
I cannot think of anything.
I wanted to close with this thing that I saw. So I watched a video, and we'd kind of been thinking of this, but this guy, so you can mash a lot of these games together. So what he does is you're playing Rebellion, okay? And whenever you have a space battle, then you go off to another table and you play Armada. And you play Armada until your little small ships get into a battle, and then you go to another table, and then you play X-Wing. And you do that every single time until you beat your space battle. And then, okay, now we're landing. So we're landing, and now we play. Now we go over here and we play Legion for this battle. And you do that every single battle.
Just
rotating 4 full miniature games,
and it could take. You want to play a game for 4 days straight. Have at it.
That sounds like some JMOS levels.
No.
JMOS has never gotten that.
JMOS is one game. It is a very long game, but it's one game.
Now technically 2 games, but it's the same game.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll ever reskin Twilight Imperium as something else?
I'll say this. They might.
Yeah.
They haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done it yet, but the designer of it, who is also the owner of Fantasy Flight, Christian Peterson, is no longer in-house.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think it's more possible now? Yes. Do I think it's probable? Probably not, because of the footprint that Twilight Imperium has in gaming.
Gotcha.
They have taken Twilight Imperium and have actually skinned it into other games. Like there's Rex Final Day of Empire, which was... They got the mechanics for the 80s Dune game, but couldn't get the rights from the Frank Herbert company. And this is before the new movies.
Right.
So they made Rex Final Days of Empire, which was honestly, I prefer it because
I was about to say I like that version. I've played both of them and I like that version better.
They boiled away a lot of the bullshit and a lot of stuff that could complicate that game, and they streamlined it and made it a very focused game.
Yeah.
I still love the old Dune, and I like the initial version that Gale Force 9 put out, because it was immediately that plus the original expansion for that, and you can work those in. I like it. Rex did it better. They then took Twilight Imperium and they put it onto Yahtzee, and it became Twilight Inscription, which is an 8-player Yahtzee game with 4 Yahtzee boards per player plus 1 center for the main game. That game at 8 players is too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played it.
At 4 players. No. I'm telling the passengers.
I am also telling the passengers.
I was looking at your
it.
pain, and I wanted to bring that up but yeah. And that game, that game can be very hard to follow. One of our players didn't follow it well, and it led to some weird scoring confusion, and it was strange and weird.
I also think the way that they tell you to teach that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you should just play a straight game of it.
Because I would have enjoyed that a little bit better if
I do want to run that one more time with like 4 of y'all. Just here's the boards, go for it.
If we play a smaller game, maybe that's something that we can do.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, from what I've heard, that's not even the most complicated roll and write, because then there's Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm never buying that because that doesn't have space anything.
Yeah. Hadrian's Wall looks super complicated for a roll and write. But yeah, so we're talking about games that aren't Star Wars. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think the interesting thing about Star Wars, like when it comes to the tabletop, and we didn't really talk about RPGs because I don't think that's something that I know Jay ran Force and Destiny a while back, which is the Jedi or Force user one.
Yes.
But that's not something I think I played in one session of that. But that's not something that we have a super large amount of like time experience with and time spent with it. But there are
I will say, because I did run it, and I did run it for about six sessions, so I can say this. The dice system from that then becomes the Genesis system, which is Fantasy Flight, now Edge Studios system for running role playing games.
Yeah.
At least for that, it is you can run anything off of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like something like I can't think of Cypher. Whereas like Cypher or GURPS or like
I was thinking of GURPS.
You're basing that
or
like
the Fate system.
It's a universal system, and the
Savage
dice
Worlds too.
Yeah, Savage Worlds as well. And they all kind of coalesce into those dice. This has special dice, but the dice are meant to promote narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a set of dice that sees whether you succeed or fail. Mm-hmm. And then you have dice to the side that, depending on how they roll out, maybe you failed at the main thing, but you won a little bit of success here, so that while you didn't achieve your goal, you may have like kept yourself in the game with these things here. There's a narrative focus to that and a storytelling focus to that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think it played out very well in Star Wars, because I think it is a very open to narrative, as opposed to being very strict to, you rolled a 16, did you hit or miss? So that's my opinion on that. And
system. These are the newer games. There's basically the Force and Destiny, Edge of Empire, which is like Scum and Villainy, and then Age of Rebellion. And then there's like some older versions of RPGs. There's multiple of those.
The original West End games, which was all D6s.
D6, yeah.
And there's so much stuff that appears in the supplement to that role-playing game that was in like the story Bibles and in Lucas's notes and in the production notes that never made it to the screen.
Oh, that's
that
interesting.
End up going into effectively canon because they existed in the West End.
Oh, that's interesting. So I think to kind of cap it off, like the interesting thing about Star Wars as a property when it comes to like the tabletop games is that there's a wide variety, first, of like types of games, but then also like how much effort, because it could be basically a lazy reskin, which I would argue something like Loopin Chewie. The good thing about it is that the base game is fun, but it is just a lazy reskin of Loopin Louie.
Look at any Monopoly reskin.
Yeah,
game.
Monopoly.
You roll the die, you move.
There's tons of Star Wars Yahtzees where you get to roll dice in Darth Vader's head.
There is Star Wars Carcassonne.
Yeah.
There's Star Trek Catan.
Yeah. So like it can be a lazy reskin, but then there's also quite a few of them that I think that even if they are a reskin, they take the time to like
improve upon
it and
like
say
the villainous.
Yeah, like the villainous. Like the Clone Wars Pandemic, it's not just okay. We're just gonna put this property on here. We're gonna change it to where it fits with that thing.
They're gonna integrate the property within the game.
And then you've got these games where they're not a lazy reskin; they're an original game. Be it, especially I think right now with the miniatures, where they just put time into making this. This is a game, and this is going to be a really good game, regardless of it being Star Wars or not. That's just going to be the hook to get you in. But here's a really good game still. There's your Rebellion, your Outer Rim, Shatterpoint, Legion, all these games that they do a really good job with. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of rich, stuff out there. If you are interested in Star Wars and you want to say, well, I want to do some stuff with Star Wars besides just watch the movies or the TV shows or anything like that. Go out and try some of these games that we've talked about. Some of these we've had, experience with. Some of them we've just kind of seen, Queen's Gambit's just going to be one of those, it's a unicorn. We've heard about it, and we've heard
rare sightings are very
rare
recorded.
sightings. Maybe if you go to one of those Dice Tower conventions, I think Tom Bassel has a copy of it, but I don't think that he brings those out. It brings it out anymore for like conventions and things like that.
I think for Dice Tower East, but I think that's because it happens in Florida, so you can just literally drive back home with it.
Yeah, they don't have to transport all the stuff as much as they do in when they do like Dice Tower West. Or
Quick
something
little
like that.
aside to get this burned out of my brain: I will never play Space Base without that instant win card. I just won't do it. If they're playing it, it's got to be in there, because at some point, if somebody gets too far ahead, that might be your only catch up button, and it's a hard catch up button to do. But I think having that there is just again, the only reason why I'm mentioning that is because Tom Vassell finally got his instant win game, and he started out immediately playing for it as soon as he could get to it, and he ended up getting it that game at the most recent Dice Tower convention.
So there's Jay's logic with how he has these little conversations. I do that too sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much wraps up the show. We're going into the station.
Yes.
I hope we gave you some good information, some things to maybe check out. Jody, tell us something.
Silence Your Cell Phones as a show. There we go.
It is,
Jared Hubbard,
is indeed a show.
Jared Hubbard and Kevin Shelton talk about movies, streaming, TV, and things you should watch and things that you shouldn't. They're on all the streaming platforms for podcasts. Silence Your Cell Phones.
Ethan.
Whiskey and Wrestling, a there's my speech impediment. A whiskey and wrestling based
wetness
podcast.
has to do with this podcast. They wet their whistle.
Whiskey and Wrestling is a whiskey and wrestling based podcast.
It is.
I mean, that needs to be the Jason Michael. That has to be your tagline.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Who chose you?
Did you watch
what paragon of virtue chose you?
You watched the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring?
No, because I want to live.
No, not yet. Damn. They drink an alcoholic beverage of the week, and they go about the ins and outs of wrestling for the week. AEW, WWE. Probably not a lot of AEW right now because people hate it or not enjoying it as much. Give them a listen to. They're good.
I'm just indifferent.
Whiskey and Wrestling.
Whiskey and Wrestling. Jay.
Two old men tell you what to listen to. It's called Boomer Box. JL Kite, a.k.a. Jody Kite, and Jason Holder from Whiskey and Wrestling come together and talk about music once a month. Currently, it will be coming up on the Travelers on the Omnibus channel. If we get enough support, if they get enough listens, they're going to get their own channel, and it's going to be Boomer Box, baby.
Nice. I like it.
If you also like music, Steven Nelson II, our friend Jared Taylor, do I was about to say bleeding drums. That's a completely different podcast.
Yeah, that's different.
Bearded drums. Bearded drums. It's like Whiskey and Wrestling except with murder and hops. And there we go. And then they'll play the drum section of Scotland the Brave, and it'd be great. But yeah, no, Steven Nelson II and Jarrett Nelson telling you everything about drums from gear to gigs, along with recordings of performances by Mr. Steven Nelson. Again, check them out on YouTube and all major podcasting platforms.
Ethan, you got another one in you?
Yes, I do. The Completed Podcast, a Magic the Gathering-centered podcast hosted by Christopher Vega, Brendan Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They go about the ins and outs of competitive Magic, the various formats of it, and they have deep in thought.
Deep.
deep interviews with professional Magic players, with Brendan Scott Tanner being a former pro player of the Pro Tour.
Were you scared by a little mouse? What
Ethan,
was
next
that?
time I do this, I promise I'll only give you one promo to do.
Words are not the best for me at this time.
If you want to really be scared, listen to Fearology. It's a horror podcast hosted by me, and it's on Spotify. And check it out, Fearology.
I'd like to give a shout out to Sydney Sweeney, who is a tremendous actress and a beautiful woman. That's it.
Whoa. What the fuck? Where did that come from?
His admiration for Sydney Sweeney.
First of all,
just the intrusive thoughts keep winning.
But no, I was about to say
that needs to be a hot button.
You stole my fucking line. God damn it!
Oh, it happened to you once.
Yes.
Once. God.
Once. I'm offended. Anyway. But as everyone knows at this table on that couch, and anybody who's listening to this right now, I let my intrusive thoughts win. I was like, you know what? I haven't said a good thing about Sydney Sweeney in like 2 hours, so I'm going to say something about her on a radio
when the
show.
Fuck did you say it 2 hours ago? We were with you 2 hours ago.
Yeah, and I said,
we don't know where you are now.
Yeah, and it was like, man, I really like that Sydney Sweeney, and it was like, and y'all didn't pay attention, so that's one of the reasons I want to get this on record.
Yeah.
I guess so.
There you go. Fantastic actress. Check her out in that movie.
I think his sleep.
I was going to say something about Florence Pugh, but
I was going. Well, Florence Pugh, another fantastic actress. They
Very
should do
good.
a
Bad
You can
Nicholas.
actually name good movies.
Yeah. No, she did a. I can't remember.
Apparently, Sydney Sweeney was in Under the Silver Lake. I don't remember her in that. I need to rewatch
but she's
that
in there.
movie.
Yeah, no, but no, she was in a movie where she was like being investigated as like.
Oh,
and I can't remember the name of it.
That's based on a true story.
It's based on a true story.
It was a very basic name of the movie.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of that. Like I said, I can remember that she was in
it's
it.
recent, right?
It's very recent.
Yeah,
like I
want
to say last year.
I think I saw a trailer for it.
Yeah, see, my intrusive thoughts win, but sometimes they forget their baggage when they get across the door. It's
ladies and gentlemen, also, if you want to, check out any of these board games that we've talked about, because they have a lot of these, to be honest. Come on down to McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi. They've got some X-Wing. They don't have Armada. They've got a little bit of Shatterpoint.
That's because we bought most.
They
of
don't
it.
have Star Wars Unlimited because nobody can get that right now.
Yep.
You can get Love Letter, Jabba's Palace.
They have a lot of themed deck boxes and sleeves.
Yeah, you've got some deck boxes for Unlimited, which are pretty cool. Clone Wars Pandemic, they've got that. I don't think they have any Legion stuff anymore because people just don't play it that much over here. But yeah, but if there's other things, you want to play some Magic, you want some Lorcana, you want some Pokemons, you want some RPG stuff. Several of their Army Painter and the other thing we probably can't say out loud. They've got some paints on sale for 50% off.
There you go.
So come check those out.
Yes. Miniature paints.
Yeah. So if any of that sounds interesting for you, they've also got the new Army Painter Fanatic stuff. That is not on sale. That is regular price, but it is also good stuff.
Yes.
But they have some other.
We need to get them to get Pro Acryl because I'll say this again: that titanium white has just been.
I need to get that white.
It's such a smooth, easy paint to use.
I meant to check on that when I went to.
When I finally get the NYC apartment building finally done on that, like I used that white over silver for the air conditioners.
Yeah,
and so it kind of looks like a white.
Oh, okay.
White. I can't wait.
That's pretty cool.
I can't wait to show.
I need to start painting. Yeah, that's it. That's it for us. Have we decided exactly what we're going to do? What we said we're going to do next week?
I thought we did.
Fuck it, lock it in. It's going to be a chalkboard, people. The top 5 obscure Star Wars characters. All your main guys.
Side characters.
All your main guys. Like Han Solo. No, won't be on the list.
Fuck him.
Jabba the Hutt.
Fuck him.
Queen Amidala.
Fuck her.
Okay, there we go.
C-3PO.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
He can't remember. Wait, he remembers now.
Yeah, Gloomu Ooptu might be on the list.
You can. No, C-3PO. C-3PO from Force Awakens you can put on there because he is obscure as fuck in those new movies.
Red-armed C-3PO.
Yeah.
For no good goddamn reason.
Because God knows he only showed up in that movie 2 minutes.
R2-D2 in The Force Awakens, he's only alive for 3.
His only line was "Wheelie boodly beedly bop." That was the only line he had.
Wheelie boodly beedly bop.
Yeah.
He'd even scream.
So yeah, we're gonna do like the not main characters for Star Wars, and we're going. So it's gonna we're gonna have to do a little bit more thinking than just I like Darth Vader. He's cool.
That Palpatine guy is pretty sick.
There's going to be a lot of... I don't know if we should pick that character. I've never heard of that character before.
No, that's going to be even better.
Yeah, it's even better.
But it's going to be a lot of... I'm going to name this character, and none of you are going to know this.
So I've got to explain
I
what
really
this
hope people
character
don't
is.
fact-check me.
Yeah. Who the hell is Romatar
God
Rainzabon?
damn it! Now I got to do notes for a chalkboard.
I'm
gonna bring my Star Wars character encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hate you for having that.
Another spoiler. Like I said, I'm going to do Romatar Rainzabon, and it's just going to be Roman Reigns in like that helmet that Lando was wearing in Return of the Jedi.
So they did they're doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles WWE crossover,
Yes,
and
I
Roman
saw
Reigns
those.
is Shredder.
Yeah,
Nice.
and Donatello is
I think that's
Austin,
sick.
is Creed.
Is Xavier Woods.
Xavier Woods.
I think that's
and
sick.
Kofi Kingston is, I believe, Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Again, that's sick.
They do look. Roman Reigns looks really sweet.
Yeah, they're doing some good jobs. with those.
Kamigawa.
Yeah.
So that's it.
You mean Kawabunga, right?
No, I meant Kamigawa.
Kamigawa.
You're sticking with that one.
That old TMNT saying.
Yeah.
Kamigawa.
Yeah.
So, I'm fucking Brady Davis. Jesus Christ.
Fucking
You're
Jody
fucking
Kite.
Brady Davis. Oh my God.
This is
It's just masturbation.
Okay,
Mr.
that's
Skinner.
right.
I've already said
not-
my game.
I'm not laughing at you.
No. I know
Laughing
exactly
at the funny
what
that
you're
came from
laughing at.
over there.
I know what you're laughing at.
Yeah.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm Seamus McKirthig. If we went Gaelic on it,
Oh, okay.
there we go.
Cool. Well, that's it. Go home. There's nothing else. We're out. There's nothing. Stop. No, he's not going to do
He's
that.
fondling the
If you're
buttons.
waiting for. God damn it. You made me a liar. Fuck you.
Don't run away.
Don't run away.
Brady, come
Don't
back.
run away.
We can't do the show without you. Am I wrong? And we don't know what we're doing.